Failure is often seen as something negative, something to be avoided at all costs. However, if we take a closer look at the lives of some of the most successful individuals in history, we find that failure was not only present but played a crucial role in their eventual success. Every great invention, every groundbreaking achievement, and every inspiring story has at its core a series of failures that served as stepping stones to something greater. It is through failure that we learn the most valuable lessons, the ones that shape us into stronger, wiser, and more determined individuals. Consider Thomas Edison, one of the greatest inventors of all time. When working on the invention of the light bulb, he failed thousands of times before he finally discovered the right filament that would work. When questioned about these failures, he famously said, "I have not failed, I have just found 1,0,0,0 ways that won't work." This perspective is what separates those who ultimately succeed from those who give up too soon. Every unsuccessful attempt provided Edison with knowledge that brought him one step closer to success. Had he feared failure or let discouragement take over, the world might have remained in darkness for much longer. His persistence and ability to embrace failure as part of the process are what led him to revolutionize modern technology. Similarly, J.K. Rowling, the author of the globally successful Harry Potter series, faced rejection multiple times before her work was finally accepted by a publisher. She struggled with financial hardship, personal setbacks, and self-doubt, yet she did not allow these obstacles to define her future. Instead of letting failure break her spirit, she used it as motivation to improve her writing and keep pushing forward. Today, her books have inspired millions, proving that failure does not mean the end of a dream. It is simply a chapter in the journey to success. Another example is Michael Jordan, widely regarded as one of the greatest basketball players of all time. As a young athlete, he was cut from his high school basketball team, a moment that could have discouraged him permanently. However, rather than accepting defeat, he used the experience to fuel his determination. He trained harder, refined his skills, and developed an unmatched work ethic that ultimately led him to 6 NBA championships and a legendary career. His story serves as a reminder that failure is not a reflection of our abilities, but an opportunity to grow and improve. Failure forces us to step outside our comfort zones and reassess our approaches. It encourages us to think differently, adapt, and innovate. Without failure, there would be no progress. Scientists, entrepreneurs, and pioneers in every field have all faced setbacks, yet they did not let these moments define them. Instead, they used failure as a means to discover what does not work, which in turn led them to what does. When we shift our mindset and see failure as a natural part of the journey, we begin to unlock our true potential. The fear of failure often holds people back from taking risks or pursuing their dreams. Society tends to glorify success while overlooking the struggles that precede it. However, the reality is that failure is an integral part of any meaningful achievement. It builds resilience, strengthens character, and teaches us the discipline required to keep moving forward despite the odds. Many of the world's most successful people failed numerous times before achieving greatness. Their stories prove that failure is not the opposite of success. It is an essential ingredient of it. Failure is often perceived as a sign of weakness, a setback that should be avoided at all costs. Many people fear failure so intensely that they hesitate to take risks or pursue their dreams, believing that one misstep could lead to irreversible consequences. However, this mindset is what truly limits growth and potential. The way we interpret failure determines whether we remain stuck in disappointment or use it as a powerful tool for transformation. Shifting our mindset from seeing failure as an end to embracing it as a stepping stone towards success is one of the most crucial changes we can make in our lives. A person with a fixed mindset views failure as proof of their inadequacy, believing that if they fail, it means they are not smart, talented, or capable enough. This perspective often leads to avoiding challenges, avoiding new opportunities, and ultimately avoiding progress. On the other hand, a person with a growth mindset sees failure as an opportunity to learn and improve. They understand that failure is not a statement about their worth, but a natural part of the learning process. Every time they fail, they gain knowledge that helps them refine their approach, strengthen their skills, and become better equipped for future challenges. One of the greatest examples of this shift in mindset is the story of Albert Einstein. As a child, he was considered a slow learner and even struggled with speech development. His teachers thought he would never amount to anything significant. Yet, he did not allow these early failures to define him. Instead, he continued to ask questions, seek knowledge, and develop his understanding of the world. Through perseverance and a mindset that embraced mistakes as learning opportunities, he went on to develop the theory of relativity, fundamentally changing the way we understand the universe. If he had accepted failure as a reason to stop, the world would have lost one of its greatest scientific minds. A similar example can be found in the world of business. Many of the most successful entrepreneurs today did not start with immediate success. In fact, most of them faced multiple failures before they finally achieved their breakthroughs. Steve Jobs, for instance, was fired from Apple, the very company he co-founded. For many, such a public and humiliating failure could have been the end of their career. However, Jobs took it as an opportunity to learn, innovate, and improve. He ventured into new projects, started companies like Next and Pixar, and ultimately returned to Apple stronger and more determined than before. His ability to embrace failure, learn from it, and continue pushing forward led to some of the most revolutionary products in modern history. Beyond business and science, the world of sports also provides countless examples of individuals who transformed failure into a source of strength. Serena Williams, one of the greatest tennis players of all time, has experienced significant losses throughout her career. There have been matches where she was expected to win easily, yet she faced unexpected defeats. However, instead of letting those losses define her, she used them to sharpen her skills, strengthen her mental resilience, and push herself to greater heights. The ability to take a loss, analyze what went wrong, and return stronger is what separates true champions from the rest. The truth is, failure is an inevitable part of life. Everyone, regardless of how talented, intelligent, or hardworking they are, will encounter setbacks at some point. What truly matters is how one responds to those setbacks. When we start seeing failure as a teacher rather than an enemy, we open ourselves to endless possibilities. Each failure carries a lesson, a piece of wisdom that can guide us towards success. Those who succeed are not necessarily the ones who never fail, but the ones who refuse to let failure break them. Instead of saying, "I failed," they say, "I learned." And that small shift in perspective makes all the difference. One of the most powerful aspects of embracing failure is that it removes the fear that often holds people back. Many people do not even try to reach for their dreams because they are afraid of failing. They fear judgment, embarrassment, or the disappointment that comes with not achieving their goals. But when they realize that failure is simply a stepping stone rather than a final destination, they start taking more risks, pushing beyond their comfort zones, and ultimately discovering what they are truly capable of. Failure is not a barrier to success. It is the bridge that leads to it. The moment we stop fearing failure and start welcoming it as part of our journey, we begin to unlock our full potential. Life is full of challenges, and no matter how talented, intelligent, or hardworking a person may be, they will inevitably encounter setbacks. These moments of failure and disappointment can either break a person or make them stronger. The difference lies in resilience. The ability to bounce back, to keep going despite obstacles, and to turn struggles into fuel for future success. Resilience is not something people are simply born with. It is built through experiences, especially through failures. Every time a person faces adversity and chooses to push forward rather than give up, they strengthen their ability to handle even greater challenges in the future. Failure has a unique way of testing a person's inner strength. It forces them to confront their weaknesses, evaluate their decisions, and find new ways to approach problems. Some of the most successful people in history are those who have faced the greatest failures but refused to let those failures define them. They understood that resilience is not about never falling, it is about always getting back up. When people experience failure, they often feel discouraged, embarrassed, or even hopeless. However, those who develop resilience view failure as an opportunity for growth rather than as a personal defeat. They recognize that struggle is a necessary part of the journey toward greatness. Consider Oprah Winfrey, one of the most influential figures in media and entertainment. Before becoming a household name, she faced significant struggles. She was fired from her first television job because her producers felt she was not fit for TV. Many people in her position would have taken this rejection as a sign to quit, but Oprah used it as motivation. She did not allow one failure to destroy her dreams. Instead, she worked even harder, refined her skills, and eventually created one of the most successful talk shows in history. Her ability to persevere through setbacks and continue striving toward her goals is what ultimately led her to success. Another example of resilience built through struggles is the story of Walt Disney. Before creating the massive empire that bears his name, Disney faced numerous failures. He was fired from a newspaper job because his editor believed he lacked imagination and had no good ideas. His early animation company went bankrupt. However, rather than giving up on his dreams, he learned from these failures, improved his work, and continued pushing forward. If he had let those early struggles convince him that he was not good enough, the world would have never seen the magic of Mickey Mouse, Disneyland, or any of the beloved films that continue to inspire generations. His resilience in the face of repeated failure is what enabled him to build one of the most successful entertainment companies in the world. In the world of sports, resilience is often the defining factor between those who succeed and those who fall behind. Take the story of Muhammad Ali, one of the greatest boxers of all time. He did not win every fight, and in some cases he faced humiliating defeats. However, every time he lost, he used the experience to train harder, sharpen his skills, and come back even stronger. His resilience was not just about his physical ability, but also about his mental toughness, his ability to keep going despite failures, criticisms, and obstacles. His famous words, "It isn't the mountains ahead to climb that wear you out, it's the pebble in your shoe," reflect the idea that setbacks are only as powerful as we allow them to be. J.K. Rowling, the author of the Harry Potter series, is another perfect example of resilience. Before her books became a global phenomenon, she faced rejection from numerous publishers. She was struggling as a single mother, living in difficult financial circumstances and dealing with personal hardships. Many people would have given up under such circumstances, but Rowling kept writing. She continued sending her manuscript to publishers until one finally saw its potential. Today, her books have sold millions of copies worldwide, proving that those who persist through hardships are often the ones who achieve the greatest success. Resilience is built through the process of overcoming struggles, learning from failures, and refusing to quit. Every time a person experiences failure and makes the conscious decision to try again, they strengthen their resilience. Challenges teach patience, adaptability, and perseverance. They show people what they are truly capable of when they refuse to give up. The human spirit is incredibly powerful, and those who learn to harness their inner strength in the face of difficulties often discover that they can achieve far more than they ever imagined. Many people believe that success comes easily to those who are naturally talented or lucky, but in reality, the most successful individuals are the ones who have faced and overcome the greatest hardships. They have learned to navigate failure, disappointment, and rejection without letting it define their future. Each setback serves as a lesson, each obstacle as an opportunity to grow stronger. Resilience is not something that happens overnight. It is developed through experience, through falling and getting back up repeatedly. It is in the moments of struggle that true strength is built, and the ability to persevere despite hardships becomes the key to ultimate success. Failure is often seen as an ending, a sign that something went wrong and that progress has come to a halt. However, failure is not the end. It is a moment for reflection, learning, and adaptation. The most successful individuals and organizations understand that setbacks provide invaluable insights into what works and what doesn't. Instead of dwelling on the disappointment of failure, they analyze their mistakes, identify areas for improvement, and adjust their strategies accordingly. This process of self-reflection and adaptation is what separates those who grow from their failures from those who remain stuck in them. Self-reflection is a crucial step in transforming failure into future success. It requires a person to take a step back, examine what went wrong, and understand the underlying reasons for their failure. This is not about self-criticism or blame. It is about gaining clarity. Many people avoid self-reflection after failure because it can be uncomfortable to confront mistakes. But without it, the same patterns are likely to repeat. By honestly assessing what led to a setback, a person can make informed changes that increase their chances of success in the future. Self-reflection is about asking the right questions. What could I have done differently? Was my approach effective? Did I put in enough effort, preparation, or thought? What external factors influenced the outcome, and how can I navigate them better next time? A powerful example of self-reflection and adaptation can be seen in the journey of Elon Musk. Throughout his career, he has faced numerous failures, from early struggles with Tesla and SpaceX to multiple failed rocket launches. Rather than giving up, Musk and his teams meticulously analyzed every failure, identified technical flaws, and improved their designs. SpaceX, for instance, experienced multiple rocket failures before successfully landing reusable rockets, an achievement that revolutionized space travel. Without careful reflection and strategic adaptation, those failures could have been permanent roadblocks. Instead, they became stepping stones to groundbreaking success. The business world is filled with stories of companies that initially failed but thrived after adapting to their mistakes. Netflix, now one of the most dominant entertainment companies in the world, originally operated as a DVD rental service. When faced with declining demand for physical media, the company reflected on market trends and adapted by shifting its focus to streaming services. Blockbuster, on the other hand, failed to adapt to the changing landscape and eventually collapsed. The difference between these two companies was not just luck. It was the ability to reflect on past decisions, recognize industry shifts, and embrace necessary changes. Businesses and individuals who succeed in the long run are those who continuously evolve based on their experiences. In sports, self-reflection and adaptation play a critical role in improving performance. Athletes do not just train harder after a loss. They analyze their techniques, identify weaknesses, and modify their strategies. Serena Williams, one of the greatest tennis players in history, has spoken openly about how she studies her past matches, reviewing both victories and losses to refine her skills. When she loses a match, she does not see it as a failure, but as an opportunity to improve. Her ability to adapt to different playing styles, adjust her techniques, and strengthen her mental game has been a key factor in her long-lasting success. The same principle applies to personal growth. People often encounter failures in relationships, education, careers, and personal goals. Instead of seeing these failures as defining moments of defeat, those who succeed take time to reflect on what went wrong and make necessary changes. A student who fails an exam can either feel defeated and assume they are not intelligent enough, or they can analyze their study habits, identify areas of weakness, and adjust their learning strategies. A person who struggles in relationships can either blame others or reflect on their communication skills, emotional intelligence, and personal growth. Those who take the time to learn from their experiences rather than simply move past them without change are the ones who build stronger, healthier, and more successful futures. One of the most powerful aspects of self-reflection is that it allows for intentional growth rather than random trial and error. Without reflection, a person might keep making the same mistakes without understanding why. They might continue following ineffective strategies, unaware of better alternatives. But when someone takes the time to evaluate their failures critically, they gain the ability to make smarter decisions moving forward. This is where adaptation comes in. Reflection alone is not enough. One must also be willing to take action based on their insights. The ability to adapt means being open to change, trying new approaches, and sometimes completely rethinking one's strategies. A great example of this can be seen in Thomas Edison's relentless pursuit of innovation. He conducted thousands of experiments while working on the light bulb, and each failure provided him with data on what did not work. He was not merely persistent, he was adaptive. He refined his methods, adjusted his materials, and tweaked his designs based on what he learned from each failed attempt. His famous quote, "I have not failed, I have just found 1,0,0,0,0 ways that won't work," captures the essence of learning through failure. Reflection without adaptation is useless, just as adaptation without reflection is directionless. The true power lies in the combination of both. Many people fear failure because they see it as a permanent mark on their record, something that proves they are not good enough. However, the reality is that failure is only permanent if nothing is learned from it. When individuals and organizations embrace self-reflection and adaptation, they turn failure into a learning experience that ultimately propels them forward. Instead of being setbacks, failures become essential parts of the journey towards success. Those who master this process understand that the key to achieving greatness is not avoiding failure, but using it as a tool for continuous improvement. Failure is one of the most feared experiences in life. People avoid it, dread it, and sometimes even let it paralyze them into inaction. Society often celebrates success while glossing over the struggles, mistakes, and missteps that lead up to it. This creates the illusion that those who achieve greatness do so effortlessly, while failure is seen as a sign of inadequacy. However, the reality is quite the opposite. Failure is not a reflection of one's worth, intelligence, or abilities. It is simply a temporary setback, a lesson in disguise, and an opportunity for growth. Those who succeed in the long run are not the ones who have never failed, but the ones who refuse to let failure define them. One of the biggest mistakes people make is allowing failure to shape their identity. When someone experiences failure, they often internalize it, seeing it as evidence that they are not good enough, not smart enough, or not capable enough. They associate failure with who they are rather than with something they have experienced. This kind of thinking can be extremely damaging as it leads to self-doubt, low self-esteem, and a reluctance to take future risks. However, failure is not personal. It is simply part of the process of learning, growing, and achieving success. Every mistake, rejection, or setback is an event, not a permanent label. It is something that happened, not something that defines who a person is. History is filled with stories of people who faced repeated failures before achieving greatness. One of the most famous examples is Abraham Lincoln. Before becoming one of the most revered presidents in US history, he faced a series of crushing failures. He lost multiple elections, failed in business, and even suffered a nervous breakdown. Many people in his position would have given up, assuming that failure meant they were not meant to succeed. But Lincoln refused to let his failures define him. Instead, he learned from each experience, adapted his approach, and persevered until he ultimately became one of the greatest leaders the world has ever known. His story serves as a powerful reminder that failure is only final if we allow it to be. Another example is Steven Spielberg, one of the most legendary filmmakers of all time. Today, his name is synonymous with success, but his journey was far from smooth. He was rejected from film school multiple times, each rejection serving as a potential roadblock. But instead of letting these failures stop him, he found another way to pursue his dream. He took on smaller projects, refined his craft, and eventually got his breakthrough. Had he allowed failure to define him, the world would have never seen classics like Jurassic Park, E.T., or Schindler's List. His story is proof that rejection and failure do not mean the end of the road. They are simply detours leading to another path. The same principle applies to entrepreneurship. Some of the most successful business leaders have endured major failures before finding success. Take Jeff Bezos, for example. Before Amazon became the e-commerce giant it is today, he had multiple failed ventures. Many of his ideas did not work out, and he faced criticism and setbacks. But rather than letting these failures discourage him, he used them as learning experiences, refining his business model and improving his strategies. He understood that failure was not a sign to stop, but a lesson to be absorbed. Today, Amazon is one of the most successful companies in the world, largely because of Bezos' ability to learn from failure rather than be defined by it. The sports world provides countless examples of how failure does not define an athlete's legacy. Michael Jordan, considered one of the greatest basketball players of all time, was once cut from his high school basketball team. Instead of letting that moment define him as someone who was not good enough, He used it as motivation to improve his game. He practiced relentlessly, developed an unshakable work ethic, and eventually became a 6-time NBA champion. His famous quote, "I have missed more than 9,000 shots in my career. I have lost almost 300 games. On 26 occasions, I have been entrusted to take the game-winning shots, and I missed. I have failed over and over and over again in my life, and that is why I succeed," perfectly captures the essence of resilience. His failures did not define him. His determination and refusal to give up did. People often fear failure because they assume it is permanent. But in reality, failure is just a temporary setback. The only way failure becomes permanent is if a person decides to quit. Many people give up after their first failure, believing that it means they are not good enough or that success is out of reach. But if they had persevered, adapted, and tried again, they might have found success just around the corner. Failure only has power over a person if they allow it to control their actions and beliefs. One of the most liberating realizations a person can have is that failure is not the opposite of success. It is a crucial part of success. Every successful person has failed at some point, often multiple times. The key is to see failure as a lesson rather than a verdict. When people stop fearing failure and start embracing it as a natural part of growth, they open themselves up to limitless possibilities. They become more willing to take risks, push beyond their comfort zones, and pursue their dreams with greater confidence. The moment they stop letting failure define them, they unlock their full potential. Failure can feel discouraging in the moment, but with the right mindset, it becomes fuel for future success. It teaches resilience, sharpens problem-solving skills, and strengthens character. Those who achieve greatness are not the ones who never fail, but the ones who rise every time they fall. They do not see failure as the end, but as a stepping stone to something greater. When a person refuses to let failure define them, they turn setbacks into comebacks, obstacles into opportunities, and struggles into strength. Failure is not the enemy. It is a teacher, guide, and a stepping stone towards success. Every setback holds valuable lessons. Every struggle builds resilience, and every rejection redirects us towards something greater. The most successful people in the world are not those who never failed, but those who refuse to let failure define them. They embraced their mistakes, learned from them, and continued pushing forward with unwavering determination. Instead of fearing failure, we must welcome it as part of the journey. When we shift our perspective, failure stops being something to avoid and becomes something to use. It is not a sign to quit, but a signal to grow. The true measure of success is not in how many times we fall, but in how many times we rise. So let us face our failures with courage, turn them into strength, and keep moving forward, because the only real failure is giving up.